Grabponia was a harsh, unrelenting place, situated in the mountains where snow was common and the wind was blew all year round. Griffins made their eyries in crevices where they likely to fall out and built their wings muscles just to fighting the strong gales. The air was thin and was was life there. Only the strong or special survived, and you had to be exceptional one at or the other to compete for food, space, and mating rights. As such, Griffon society was more exciting than any other thing ponies would have envisioned, and much less concerned with Ripley's. Attractiveness was based on strength and ability to survive adulthood, not all nicely brushed out coat or who your parents were. Unless, of course, your parents had come from Equestria, all bets were then off. Gilda stood on the parapet and regarded the street below. Canterlot was a plush city. You just had to look at the architecture and to know that it was somewhere in that grown preoccupied with class in a different sense than Grabphonian society. In Canterlot, you were judged by your family tree and how much money it had. There were exceptions for magical talents, but the wrought material, cucumber, lampposts, city parks, monumental artwork, and spotless public conveniences spoke volumes about what ponies valued their lives. Luxury to Griffins meant having enough to eat and the opportunity to procreate with the mate of your choice. Luxury to Canterlot ponies meant big houses, expensive clothes, and garden parties where you played things like polo or crochet. One of the Claw Army soldiers raised a croquet mallet in his fist. "Come on, you!" he bellowed at this line of ponies trailing past. They all had their hands low, and the air of defeat clung to them like a stink on garbage. "Get the lead out! Move it! Move it! Move it!" Gilda watched him and wondered as her own feeling of triumph would survive. She had expected to feel good about the ponies finally getting their comeuppance. They were all a bunch of judgmental hypocrites. She had first-hand experience of that. They would be friends to non-ponies as long as they acted like ponies, not like anything else. Certainly not true to their own natures. Heaven forbid a griffin acted like a griffin, or a minotaur like a minotaur, or a goat like a goat. Only ponies' ethics and values were acceptable. In Equestria, it was all pony all the time, and you either confirmed or got out. One pink pony stumbled and knocked into the unicorn in front. Gilda was surprised to see a unicorn in with the earth ponies. The Pegasi had already been separated off, and it would have seemed obvious to her to contain the magic users. Then again, maybe King Claw's generals were thinking, and it would be unwise to put so many magic users together. Individually, no unicorn would take down a griffin platoon, especially since the talents of Canterlot tended towards the trivial or showy, after years of only breeding with the right sort of socially acceptable ponies. Every few Canterlot unicorns possessed the raw power necessary to fight back, especially with the morale so low that the depths of their princesses. King Claw had given special orders to hammer this fact into the prisoners. Celestia and Luna were dead, and as were the ponies of Harmony, or whatever they were called. There was no one left to save them. The pink pony hastily got back into line, but it seemed that the griffin with the crochet mallet was drunk on his own power. He had strode forward and shoved the little earth pony so hard her yellow beehive mane, already unraveling, fell across her eyes. She trembled and shrank down from him. "Didn't you hear me? I said move it!" She whimpered and covered her head in fear. On top of her, trepid Gilda watched as the bullying griffin swung her mallet at her. It halted abruptly in midair and he stumbled, momentum forcing him to release it as his body carried off forward in an awkward lurch. The mallet hung, encased the same magical glow that surrounded the unicorn's horn when he turned around. "Leave her alone." A griffin farther than the line laughed at the spectacle. Now the malletless griffin fluffed his neck feathers in embarrassment and tried to grab the back of his weapon, presumably so he can use it on the defiant unicorn. The unicorn was no fool and lifted out of his reach. Embarrassed griffin flapped his wings and rose to his hind legs, but the mallet lifted out of his reach again. Finally, he let out an angry, frustrated screech. In response, the mallet twirled upside down and smacked him in his beak. His screech cut off sharply, and he fell back, clutching his face. Griffins appeared, seemingly from everywhere. It would have looked strange if Gilda didn't follow their lead, so she glided down to the melee, to where the unicorn was using the mallet on anyone who got too close. Earth ponies cowered away out of trampling distance, leaving him to defy their captors alone. A couple tried to run for it, but were soon stopped. They squealed like stuck piglets as they were pinned and either herded or carried back to the line while the unicorn was shepherded away from them, fighting all the way. "This is Equestria," he yelled. "You griffins have no place here." "This is our territory now," replied a large buck with the reddish-red head feathers. "Never!" It took the three griffins attacking simultaneously to bring the stallion down. He only lay on his back under them. Kicking wildly with their claws tore up clumps of his tuxedo jacket and blue mane, which drifted through the air like a strange kind of mist above their beating wings. Gilda flew up and used her own claws on the mallet, shredding the wood so it would be no use as a blunt weapon. The bits fell to earth, signaling that the magic suspending them had been cut off. The unicorn staggered between his captivers, balanced unsteadily on his hind legs with his forelegs held behind his back. It would have been an unstable pose anyway, but the rapidly swelling welts on his face made him extra wobbly. His mustache was crimson with blood trickling down from his nose. "You just hit a big mistake." The original griffin who had attacked him stalked up, now sporting a large crack in his beak. His eyes blazed as he drew back his claws. He clearly intended to swipe them across the unicorn's exposed throat, but once again he was knocked off his feet. By this time, a spindly white unicorn who galloped to him. He landed on his backside and let out an ear-piercing yelp. "Gah, my tail! My tail! You leave Fancy Pants alone!" The spiny unicorn shouted. Her voice was uncertain, as if she was questioning what she was even doing, even if she did. She was probably a beautiful pony usually, but her pale pink mane was caked with dirt, and her laminated eye makeup was streaked from crying. She let her hooves and lowered her head as if to her horn to use a spear. Gilda wondered why she hadn't used her telekinesis the way the stallion did. Maybe this mare wasn't very magical gifted. Her long legs trembled out, but to her credit, she stood her ground between the stallion and the angry griffin buck. The griffin leapt back up, enraged and in pain. His neck feathers were so puffed they looked like the real lion's mane. Behind him, his tail hung at the painful, full, long 90-degree angle, clearly broken when he had fallen on it. He forewent his screech for a full-throated roar, or at least that what everyone thought, until he looked surprised and closed his beak before the roar was finished. Captain Ripper landed amongst them like a lightning bolt striking the ground. He eyeballed the assembled crowd and single-cloudedly caused a hush to fall over everything. "What," he snarled, "is going on here?" "Captain," stammered a griffin with a broken beak. He drew himself up and took a steadying breath. "Just quailing with money fair." "Oh, really?" Captain Ripper glared at him until he wilted. "Well, it looks like to me you're making a mockery out of entire claw army." His voice rose in volume at the end as he leaned forward, pushing his face to the other griffins. "You had a simple duty. Separate the three breeds and escorted the ponies to their designated Tanti areas. What breed was your responsibility, Suberant?" Earth ponies, sir." "And do these two look like earth ponies?" "No, sir." "Then why don't you alert your corporal and these two were mixed in the wrong group?" "Well, answer me." The griffin with the broken beak stammered and stuttered but made no reply. Gilda knew why. He had been so busy congratulating himself and bullying the captured ponies that hadn't even noticed the two were out of place. Evidently, Captain Ripper noticed too. Because he lashed out, the griffin with the broken beak yelled in fresh pain, new cuts opening up in one cheek. He didn't fight back. He just hung his head in shame and indifference. He was in big trouble and he knew it. What is your name, suberant? Bloodfill, sir. Report to Captain Grimwing, he snapped. Subordinate Bloodspill. You are hereby demoted to body recovery detail. Warp collecting. The stupid griffin raised his head and quailed at the look at Captain Ripper's eyes. Yes, sir. He reluctantly backed off, not turning to fly away until he was respectable distance and couldn't be accused of turning his back on his superior. Gilda would then commerce. Corpse collecting involved clean up bodies from the battlefield. Who's your own fallen comrades and the enemy? She guessed Bloodspill would be given an honorable task of retrieving dead griffin warriors, but that would instead be forced to recover dead ponies and carrying them to wherever he directed using his own claws. Since the sun had not gone down since the princesses were killed, and the bodies would probably be sinking up the place right by now. As for the rest of you, Captain Ripper brawled, turning his head to address them, remove those two unicorns and get rid of these earth ponies to their Dantine area. Now! Sir, yes, sir! The griffin scrambled to comply. Gilda scrambled too, but paused at the sound of her name. Captain Ripper approached her, still angry, but he was clearly not directed at her. Instead, he nodded in approval. I saw what you did there, underling Godfeather. You only used your brains enough to negate the unicorn's hold on the weapon by making the weapon itself unusable. Sir, my efforts were in vain, sir. The others took them out and made what I did pointless, sir. Nevertheless, you fought outside the box. That's good quality to have. Captain Ripper eyed her thoughtfully. Added to your performance on the battlefield, I could see you're definitely one to watch Goldfeather. Gilda's stomach twisted. She hoped it wasn't watching her too closely. She had some things nobody needed to see, especially Captain. Thank you, sir. What detail are you going on now? I was about to go body recovery, sir. Not anymore. Bloodspill can have your spot. Go with the Soberans, Killbeak, Redfeather, and Smasher to remove these two unicorns. They could use some extra brain power in case the scary pointy head ponies try anything again. His sneer cut through the air like a lemon juice and milk. Captain Ripper nodded once more and he dismissed her. Gilda left, noting the hostile looks thrown away by their other Soberants, who also rushed to Bloodspill's aid. They were technically above her in rank and believed that they were in her status, so getting her special attention from the captain didn't exactly end near her to them. Sir! One of the two griffins called, holding the unicorn stallion, whose head rolled onto his chest. The mare was being pinned by the griffin called Smasher, and Gilda went to help him. Where do we take them? All unicorns are being contained in the dungeons below the castle, Captain Ripper replied, as if they should already know. It's magically sealed down. Apparently, Canterlot hasn't always been idyllic, as the ponies want you to believe. Since then, we've had to prison each other magically warded cells before. The mare fought a little, but there was no power behind it. Between them and Gilda and Smasher carried her away from the line of earth ponies, Redfeather and Killbeak following behind with the semi-conscious stallion. The mare began to sob softly as they flew, staring their own hooves dangling in the empty air. Despite the earlier bravery, she radiated defeat and hung limply on their grasp. Gilda's stomach twisted again, but she shoved it down and flew on grimly. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it. as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.